It's Monday, March 29th. My name's Juan Brown. You're watching the Blanco Lirio channel, and tragically over the weekend we had another helicopter fatal crash, this one near Anchorage, Alaska. Here's what we know so far. From Kathryn's report, see the link below in the description. Fatal accident occurred 27 March 2021 near Palmer, Alaska. A contracted helicopter carrying guides and guests from a lodge on a heli-skiing trip in Alaska's backcountry crashed, killing the pilot and 4 others, including the Czech Republic's richest man. The only other person on board was in serious condition but stable at the Anchorage hospital. They go on to list the 5 people that are killed. The pilot was 33-year-old Zachary Russell, who was flying the chartered flight for Soloy Helicopters out of Wasilla, Alaska. Along with the pilot, 2 of the guides were lost. These 2 guides are very well known in the Alaska heli-skiing operation and are very good friends of ours up in Alaska. These 2 guides are some of the guides that have helped pioneer the entire heli-skiing industry in Alaska, which is a fairly new industry, really got going in the last 10-15 years. So 1 pilot, 2 guides, and 2 of the passengers were fatally injured. The 2 passengers were the fellows from the Czech Republic. 1 other passenger seriously injured. The Eurocopter AS-50, it's a AS-350B3, more on that in a minute, crashed under unknown circumstances about 50 miles east of Anchorage at 6:35 p.m. The local sunset time at Anchorage right now is about 8:35 p.m. So Tordrillo Lodge is located about 60 miles to the west of Anchorage. The crash occurred on or near Knik Glacier, which is about 50 or so miles to the northeast of Anchorage. So the distance, I assume they were picking up their guests with the helicopter and getting them back to the lodge after an afternoon skiing session, because it's about a 100-mile flight in the Euro helicopter, which moves at about 115 knots, to get back to the lodge. The lodge is located about 60 miles northwest of Anchorage on Judd Lake. The company website bills itself as the longest-running operating heli-ski lodge in Alaska, promising deep powder, pristine runs, and some of the best mountain terrain in the world. And this, I'll see the link down below. It is just absolutely phenomenal, the heli-skiing operation experience that these folks can deliver. An unparalleled alpine adventure is only a helicopter ride away, says the website. Packages start at just $15,000 per person for a 7-day stay. A statement from the lodge said this was the first time in their 17 years in business that they've ever had to face an event of this measure. Soloy Helicopters, now that name, if you've been in aviation for a while, you know the name Soloy, and I'll talk more about that in a minute. Soloy Helicopters has a fleet of 19 helicopters providing charter services primarily in Alaska. Its website says it provides support to government and industry specializing in work for seismic oil drilling exploration programs. Soloy Helicopters did not immediately respond to the Associated Press. So Soloy Helicopters has been around a very long time, and heli-skiing operation charter flights is just a small part of their overall operation. The Alaska Army, National Guard, and volunteers from the Alaska Mountain Rescue Group were able to aid in the rescue of the survivor and the recovery of the deceased. While they were doing that, a temporary flight restriction was placed over the glacier until that operation was concluded. And in the NTSB tweet, and because of the high-profile nature of this crash, the NTSB will be sending a representative out to the field to investigate this crash. As I said earlier, if you've been in aviation for a while, you've heard the name Soloy, especially in the helicopter world. Joe Soloy pioneered the conversion of some of the early reciprocating engine-powered helicopters to turbine engine-powered helicopters back in the 50s and 60s. That company, Soloy, it's got a different name now, Soloy Aviation Solutions, is still around in Olympia, Washington. Joe's son, Chris, remained in Alaska. While Joe was starting out in Alaska, Chris remained in Alaska and started Soloy Helicopters in Alaska. And they've been around since 1979. They now have a fleet of 19 helicopters, and they're an absolutely top-notch helicopter charter operation there in Wasilla, based in Wasilla, Alaska. They recently renovated and upgraded their hangar back in 2018 to a beautiful, large new facility. Soloy Helicopters in Wasilla is a FAR Part 135 air carrier. They are also a FAR Part 133 Class A, B, and C external load certified. They are also FAR Part 137 AG certified. Also, they are an FAR Part 145 FAA approved repair station, hazmat certified, and OAS carded for firefighting operations as well. So a very professional, well-run organization with years of a great safety record. Now a little bit about the helicopter involved in this accident. This was the AS-350B3 Airbus helicopter, or subsidiary of Airbus. And this, you couldn't have asked for a better helicopter for this particular mission. This particular helicopter is well known for its high altitude capability. In fact, this helicopter type holds the world's record for being the only single-engine turbine helicopter, or holds the highest record for landing, I believe, of any helicopter in the world, when French helicopter test pilot Didier Desailles in, 2005, landed a AS-350B3 on top of Mount Everest, 29,000 feet, successfully landed and took off again, breaking the world's record in this particular type of helicopter. So these helicopters are very well equipped for high altitude operations. This accident occurred, I believe, around the 5,000 or 6,000 foot elevation near Knik Glacier. Knik Glacier is that huge glacier you see to the north and east of Anchorage that falls into the Knik River and wraps around Anchorage along the Knik Arm. According to Soloy's website, the AS-350B3 is the most powerful variant of the A-Star family. Equipped with a larger engine, dual FADEC, and wider chord tail rotor, the AS-350B3 is capable of lifting incredible loads for a light helicopter. This is a single-engine turbine helicopter, by the way. Our dual hydraulic-equipped AS-350B3 also has an increased internal gross weight of 5,225 pounds, giving him greater passenger carrying capability. So we had a total of 6 people on board this helicopter. So investigators will be looking at the gross weight and the limitations and the center of gravity and all that, and the altitude associated with this accident. So investigators are going to be looking at what was the weather, what was the pilot's experience, what was the pilot's recency of experience. Heli-ski operations in Alaska is a very challenging environment for helicopter operators. The 6:30 in the evening, you get long shadows up there in the mountains this time of day. The visual cues and the visual illusions are a challenge to helicopter pilots. We don't know what the weather was like at the time of the accident. Even if it's clear in a million, the lack of features on the snowscape of the side of a glacier makes your depth perception a real challenge operating in these conditions. And the slopes and the steepness of the slopes and the proximity of the rotor blades to this rugged terrain can make it a challenge as well. Now, these helicopter ski operations have very specific places, very well-known spots where they land and take off their helicopters. So it's not like they're out there pioneering new landing spots with customers. They should be landing at the same place that they normally do each time. So also, the NTSB has been putting out the NTSB Most Wanted list, and in a video I did just a couple days ago, the NTSB has been after helicopter operators specifically, particularly those helicopter operators that are operating under the various loopholes of FAR Part 91. Remember, there are 3 levels of regulation when it comes to buying a ticket to ride or getting on one of these, paying money to get on for an airplane ride or a heli-skiing operation or a tour. And FAR Part 91, of course, is general aviation and has the most relaxed set of regulation rules. Part 135 is your standard FAR part for charter type operations, and then of course FAR Part 129 governs airlines. So as you go up that ladder, you get an ever increasing bunch of regulations and ostensibly greater safety. I think when the NTSB studies this accident, they're going to find that this operator and the operator was covering all the squares that the NTSB wanted to see filled in their NTSB most wanted list. I think they're going to find that this operation was chartered by the lodge under FAR Part 135. Again, as a passenger, it's very hard to tell what FAR part the aircraft that you're flying in is operating without some very direct questioning. You can't just look it up on the website, even though the website will say that they are capable of a particular FAR part. It's hard to tell sometimes exactly what FAR part your particular flight is operating under. But I bet when they investigate this accident, they're going to find that this was an FAR Part 135 charter operation using the best equipment. I know Soloy Helicopters does have a safety management system, a robust safety management system that's well supervised and overseen. I don't know what the FAA involvement is with that, and that's one of the many other aspects that NTSB has been looking for in these accidents. But in other words, I think when they look into this accident, the NTSB is going to find that all of the squares were filled for the NTSB most wanted list, yet this accident still happened. We'll have a preliminary report out very soon from the NTSB with some basic information. We'll keep you posted. See you here. Condolences to everybody involved.